Yes, how are you? It's Destination Uri, 'tis the morning programme. This is Declan McChesney. I am Rowan Hand. We are at the morning programme. How are you, sir?
I am delighted to be here, Rowan. I am delighted to see you back at the chair you call home. I'm delighted to see that your avid watchers and listeners have you back in their loving televised arms. I sound like you, Rowan.
How do I follow that, Damien? Do tell me. But listen, it is good to be back. I'd gone to Spain hoping to start a business life there and communicate from there with the world. But well, you know when they say you buy a house, you go location, location, location. No, you go internet, internet, internet. If you don't have internet, you're in the wrong place.
Well, I have to say to you, first of all, Rowan, I knew you were in Spain, and I was about 10 miles down the road from you, and I thought, I wonder can I get away without seeing him. But anyway, internet. Where I live down in Killowen, we are 1.2 miles from the box.
Yeah.
And our neighbour up the road has a speed of 15.
Yeah.
And after a mile from the box, it just drops like a stone.
Yeah.
So, you know, am I going to give up the mountains and the sea?
No, of course you're not.
And the grass and the sheep? Well, I mean, the sheep I'm trying to give up. But
you can get tablets for it. Newry Veterinary.
This show is sponsored by Newry Veterinary.
Well, indeed.
Wi-Fi, you get too caught up in it, Rowan.
Yeah, you do.
You can go and sit over a cup of coffee.
Well, I have to try and chill like that because what I've been doing, you know, I spent 2 years, 3 in the morning, up doing. I was sort of, I needed to.
You can get tablets for that as well.
I know this.
It was called. That's okay, but this is terrible.
It was called going to Spain for a month and getting a bit of relaxation, and that's what happened. And
it's a lovely life and a lovely lifestyle.
It is, actually. Have you seen the festival of San Isidoro in Spain? The patron saint of the fishermen, of the farmers.
No, I haven't.
It's a wonderful, wonderful
But it depends
festival.
which one. You've seen it in Nerja?
I've seen it in Nerja, and it was great. You know, they're 3 miles long, people parading and people processing, and the horseback men of Andalusia and the women.
Yeah. Oh, those horses are beautiful, aren't
my God, yeah. Women aren't bad looking either. They're fantastic sitting there.
Sometimes
flowing. Yeah.
Difficult to tell.
I know.
One says nay and the other says no. That's just all I find all my life.
Story. Where am I going here at 12:12?
Well, I will tell you about Spain.
Do tell me about Spain.
They have what we used to have, and it was just the ability party.
Yeah.
Now, we got too caught up in Wi-Fi and too caught up in all of, we have to look west and look efficient and look hard-working and borrow more money and get more things and all of that. And while I was down in Spain, Rowan, you're going to love me for the links that I feed you. When I was down in Spain...
Where's he get them from, I ask?
I noticed an ad for a shop in Nerja.
Yeah.
And it was, buy today. It was a furniture shop, I better say. Buy today, enjoy tonight.
Wow, that beats pay tomorrow.
No, buy today. If you walk into my shop, you can buy today and enjoy today.
Of course.
Whereas we have these people teaching us the philosophy of delayed gratification, which burns me completely.
Delayed gratification, that sounds slightly erotic.
No, well, it has. If you have a mind like yours, it does. What I'm saying...
Look who's talking.
No, I'm in the sewer. I'm being
I know.
No, what I am saying is that modern people are of the moment in certain ways, and yet they're prepared to buy from a single dimension and await the gratification.
Yes.
And it's now you want it to enjoy. We have to enjoy the now, not the planning and all that. Yes, there's a responsibility of planning for our future and all of that. So we just box that.
But that's taken as given.
But we forget about the now, you know.
But you were never a man to forget about the now. You were a man of doing it and doing it right and enjoying your life and keeping things in context.
And then getting a caution from the police for doing it.
I'm glad I didn't say that.
But no.
What about your man, the footballer Bathurst story? If you have the leadership of the FIFA driving in a car, going from point, who's driving? And the answer to that's the police. Anyway, you give me that
If that
line.
was a
Thank
joke,
you.
you told it really badly. But
I know
anyway,
that. I know that.
I will use it
Yeah,
later.
I know
use
you will.
and
You'll
it
do
will
it
be-
with
will be-
aplomb. You'll do it with excellence.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Can I really believe that we share? You know, we have birthdays within a day of each other in May. I'm the 29th.
Yes, and I'm the 26th, and in
Yeah.
your mathematical bent, it is one day, but most people it's 3.
I said days, dear boy. Days,
Did you? Well, you
days.
don't speak very
As
well
you
either.
grow older, the hearing gives you a problem. Do you find?
I tell you what I do find, and
Sorry?
I was listening, you know, the old jokes are always the best. I was listening to Desert Island Discs on Sunday.
Lovely program.
And this lady Jardine, who's regarded as an original thinker,
Yes.
she's head of very many think tanks and all this sort of thing. And she was talking about experience and life. And she said that in her world, the world she lives in, now that she's got that slight bit older, when someone asks her a question, she has a mental Rolodex, which she spins through using experience gained and experience listened to.
Yes.
Which I always, life is a number of phases, and I'm at the phase now when I realise that awful expression that my folks used to say to me, if it looks like a dog and it barks like a dog,
It probably is
a dog. And the thing about that is, you know, if you use that expression with experience,
Yes.
you can gain an awful lot in life.
Well,
You
if
know, we tend to push these things down.
Yeah.
And again, I go back to where I stand on Hill Street, and
Yes.
I have the bars of my cage are rattled horrendously regularly, and I'm going to use your show today to say to the people who walk up to me in the street, and you know who you are, who maybe would be totally foreign to a day's work.
Ah, you put it so very nicely.
And it happened to me yesterday.
What happened?
At about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I'm walking down Hill Street, and this guy walks up to me, football jersey, hands on the hip. Well, Declan.
Oh.
I get this.
Obviously a friend of yours.
A
Well, he knew you.
blast of alcohol over me, right? And he says to me, "You're a businessman. Tell me the truth. It's a disaster, Hill Street, isn't it?" And I says, "What?" He says, "It's a disaster. Business is a disaster." My first expression was, "You wouldn't know business from a hole in the ground."
Yes.
But
yes.
I'm too nice and too polite, and I want to
Yes.
keep my doors open. But I will say, as I said to him, I said they did a people survey on Hill Street as recently as 2 weeks ago. And I met the people who were annotating it, and they were shocked at the high footfall on Hill Street.
Yeah.
Now, people said to me, "Well, look at all the empty doors." And I said, "Well, let's look above all the empty doors." And when Newry was the destination, asset destination,
Indeed, sir.
Newry.com, we're here, all these people came and opened shops because
Yes.
there were so many people that you didn't have anything good to sell. You just had to be there.
Yeah.
And they came along, and I used to walk into these shops and go, "Why are you here? You have nothing that's of any interest." But they were there. And of course, when the cutbacks came, people realized, I'm not going to spend my money on rubbish.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend it on what I need.
Yeah. You know, you're in the front line for people's attention because you're a larger than life character, a businessman in the middle of Hill Street. People are going to single you out. It's par for the course for you.
I look, the one thing about it all is, in my job, if you don't love people, you shouldn't be there. And I love people. I mean, I let you come into my shop, Rowan, let's be honest. And half the time you come in, you try and take over.
No,
Anybody
I
else,
just wanted
anybody
to
else
try
is
on
welcome to
pink
come in and
boots.
take over if you've got a big enough checkbook. But all I'm saying is, I love people, and people love being talked to.
Well, that's it. But if you order something online, as we were talking about it earlier, and the delayed gratification of it coming a week or so later, whatever it is, you then you don't have that conversation. I have it with you. I have it with O'Hare's and Warren Point. I have it in all kinds of places that I go into. You're half there for the purchase, and you're the other half there for the way you buy it, the bit of crack in the conversation, and being told and assured that these shoes came from Milan and they're wonderful, and you get the story of the restaurants that you visited while on the arduous task of your last buying trip to the Mediterranean and Rome and all the rest of it. You work so hard.
Je suis désolé. You're sort of saying all this about communication. Yesterday, the BBC ran a story all day long on their news channels about, now all these graduates are coming through, and they were talking about talking to a person who owned a huge graduate employment agency, and she was saying that she reads all these, that they were head of the house in school, they were the captain of the football team, they they went out and built a house in Africa, they did all this sort of thing. She says, but they're all the same, one after the other. How do I make a choice? And then you come across someone who worked in Cattle Brothers or Sainsbury's or Aldi or whatever. And she says, these are the ones I go for because they're at the front line, because you can have all the knowledge, all the experience and everything. But if you can't communicate it, you're no good to any business. Because a business is a set of wheels and cogs working one within the other.
But I've never seen people in your shop who don't engage with you in conversation, being, and it's all going and it's all good. They've thrown the mold away when they made you.
Well, how can you say that when I have staff, all who are with me, Pat, who's with me 24 years, Madonna, who's with me 22, Eileen 15, Roisin 3. These people come and work in my shop because they also are communicators.
Yeah, but you're the one who shoots the breeze with people, essentially.
I would love to believe that. However, you see, it's known that I have a day off during the week, and we do very well that day.
What am I to say? Let me take you back to Desert Island Discs. What would be the first thing you would do when you're washed up on the shore and you're left there on the desert island? You're there, you're stranded, you've got a dilemma. How do you address that problem?
Well, how far into this do you want me to go? I mean, do you want me to talk about building the shelter?
No, just
do you want me to sit on the beach with regret? Why didn't I watch Bear Grylls? What would I do? I would look.
Could you hack it? Could you?
I would. I'm very happy in my own company. I really am. I mean, you're talking about me doing all this traveling and doing all that. You have to remember, I do that all on my own. And I talk about restaurants. I'm on my own. I'm out with a book, and that's it. And I'm there on my own. So I'm very, very happy in my own company. Possibly too much. But there is a balance in my life because I'm out when I'm out, and when I'm on my own, I'm on my own. And I'm very content in both worlds. So the desert island, the first thing I would look up is, hopefully not, it's a tropical island.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I'm looking at that blue sky, and then I think, right, enough of that blue sky and sun, there's a palm tree, I'm going to sit under a palm leaf.
It's the start of it.
Yeah, and then I've got a wee bit too much sand in the place I shouldn't have too much sand.
You swim.
You go for a swim.
Yeah.
And then after that, you look for the carry-out.
You're talking about being alone and the ease with which you can be alone. Is that an indication of a certain spirituality in the man of the happy, smiling face?
Oh, here he goes.
Asking a question.
Yeah, good question. He says, it's nothing to do with spirituality. It's to do with knowing yourself.
But that is spirituality. Knowing yourself is the most spiritual exercise in the world. Because
is it maybe if we view the brain as a computer, it's knowing the buttons and the keys and the keypad and all that. So it may be that. But just I was only thinking about this the other day. I did appallingly badly at school.
Yes.
Thank you, Christian Brothers.
Thank you. I need to come in here. I did appallingly badly at school. Thank you, Christian Brothers. The abuse I got was not being educated by the Christian Brothers.
The abuse I got was that they hated me because of my background, and that I had a neat blazer and a neat pair of trousers. It wasn't my fault. My folks had a shop.
Yeah.
But they picked on me for my hair. They picked on me for everything, to the degree that it was a constant battle of personalities, that I had to have my hair cut their way. I had to have even my sideboards cut. I had to walk differently. I had to do everything that they wanted. They weren't interested in the fact that we had Killian Higgins as an English teacher and I was first in the class.
Yes.
That never occurred to them. It was the fact that I was last in the class nearly in everything else, that I had a Christian brother or some hugely nutcase disciplinarian who loved to hit you more than hurt you, you know?
I had a fellow, one of the Christian Brothers, his entrance to the classroom every day in the Abbey Grammar School was his foot to the door, bashed the door open, come in, growled, and banged his briefcase, leather briefcase, down onto the lectern at the top of the class, and then he proceeded to try and teach us after that.
Yeah, I actually, you know, when you're on holidays, what your life is.
Oh, thank you.
Part of the time lying on that beach halfway between Nerja and Laradura, I was thinking about the Christian Brothers, and I was thinking about them having dinner in the evening.
Yes, in the house.
In my head, first of all, I thought, these are a religious order, so there would be deference, understanding, and kindness. And then I thought about all those personalities, and I thought about the clashes, and about the bitching, and about the struggle for supremacy. And I thought, if the hell you gave me was the hell that you lived in, then there is a God.
There is a God, surely.
Anyway, we were
talking then about business in Uri as well, and of course, rates in Uri. That's not going away, because nowadays the rates can be larger than the rents. How do you manage in business?
Because, how do you manage?
With that kind of fiscal imposition.
The older listeners and watchers here today will remember Oliver Keenan, the chemist.
Indeed.
And I had the pleasure of meeting Oliver. And remember, I was the nipper on the block, and Oliver was the senior citizen.
Yeah, of course.
And then Oliver retired, and you adopt different roles all the way. And I met Oliver, and Oliver came up to me, he says, "Declan, you're trading away still?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You know something, Declan?" And he said the line that no one who is younger ever hears from an adult, from an older person. And he said to me, "Declan, we had it easy in comparison to you."
Wow, yes.
That literally business these days is so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. And while we were away on holidays, my daughter was with us. She's moving on shortly to foreign shores, and she said to me, Dad, sometimes I think when I go into the shop and see how much you like it and how much I like it, I wonder, should I go in?" And ice just gripped my heart.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, Lauren, my darling, no.
So are we looking at the last years, the last decade perhaps of Cahill Brothers?
No, because it's a wonderful business.
Yeah.
But
not to continue on beyond you because of that icy feeling in the heart.
Not maybe me, but if my business is going to go on, it will be someone who is me.
Yeah, in another guise.
And there are people out there who have approached me.
Yes.
And there are people out there that I know who haven't approached me yet, but will do.
Yeah.
And they have it.
Yeah.
And they'll do it.
Yeah.
Because, as you know, Rowan, and your viewers probably don't, my business is also very much the agency business. And you refer to me traveling to Italy and Spain and all that.
Yeah.
And that's not just pleasure.
No.
In fact, you know, it's quite hard work. Very shortly, I'm taking 2 clients out to northern Spain to a factory because they need to see how the factory works. There's such huge buyers for it. But by virtue of my having shoes in every shop, every major shoe shop in Ireland, my shoes are there. From Grafton Street in Dublin to Patrick Street in Cork, to O'Connell Street in Limerick, to Shop Street in Galway, to the Victoria Centre in Belfast. Every single town in Ireland has got shoes belonging to me. But because I'm in every single shoe shop in Ireland, I know how every single shoe in Ireland is selling out of those shops. And what I have in my shop is a collection of the best that's available in Ireland. And the retail in Ireland, particularly in shoes, is colossal. In comparison to the UK, this is the amazing thing. The UK is hammered by multiples.
Yes.
You can get the same thing in a million different places. And the word artisan is now coming back into vocabulary at the moment. Why? Because people do not want to seem that they're playing on the same team all the time. When you're very young, when you're up to 23 and you're hitting the canal court like Damien would do every Saturday night, or the Bed, is it Bed, the nightclub over?
How do you know about these places?
Bourbon Street. Yeah. All the places in Warrenpoint and Belfast, and down to the right venue down in Swords. Boy, do I love that one! But anyway, by the time I'm getting up in the morning, it's still not over. But all those places, the kids there are dressed of a type. Because
they want to be different. There needs to be difference.
They're dressed almost the same because they're saying this is the kind of person I am. But then when you move on a little, you want to be yourself.
Individualism.
And you no longer want to be part of the herd. And in Ireland, that is massive. And the biggest, funniest story is in the world is that you go to Kildare, and Kildare, people talk Kildare Village, they talk about all that. Newbridge, the shopping area of Kildare. And Kildare is all farming. Kildare is all horsey country. Kildare is all that. And we all know this look, the county look.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, there is nowhere better for the county look in anywhere in Ireland than Kildare. So it should be tweed skirts, moccasins, scarves around the neck, handbag, and sloggy underwear. Not a chance. No, leave it go, Rowan. Leave it go. But the shop, the leading.
How do you know?
The leading shop research. The leading shop in Kildare. The stuff that she has in her shop, including my own, is the most advanced, the most high fashion, that if you saw it on the Via Veneto in Rome, if you saw it in the center of Milan, you would think, this is amazing. And this woman, she's an amazing lady. She hoses out stock. Her stock is wonderful. I have a couple of Spanish factory owners coming over to see me, and I'm taking them down to her shop.
I want to take you to the business of all of the shops, all of the outlets you sell to, whether it be the Victoria in Belfast, the place there, or whether it be on Shop Street in Galway, Grafton Street in Dublin. This would have all started with you walking along one day with a briefcase, knocking a door and saying, "Can I talk to you?" What would commonly be known in the early as a cold call. And that's how it started, was it? You just went in and you talked to people.
I found a brand which I thought was absolutely amazing. And I bought it for my own shop. And I had been down visiting friends in Cork, and I was driving up just north of Mitchelstown on the old road. And if anybody can see it in their mind, there's an old concrete water tower at the side of the road. And whatever, I passed the water tower, the sun went behind it and came back out the other side. At the same time, I thought, why do I just want this for my shop? I'm going to sell it to Ireland.
Wow, you had that kind of
It was that
eureka
Damascene
moment. Yeah.
And I needed to start it. And if you want to get something, you can either go into the wee shop round the corner and say, look, will you take a wee bit of that? I thought, no, I'm going to start at the top. And for many years, the leading retailer, shoe retailer in all of Ireland was Bishop's in Coleraine.
Yes.
Owned by Mr. Tom Hamilton, probably one of the nicest gentlemen you'll ever meet. I wish him very well at the moment. Things, he needs everybody's best wishes. But Bishops were very by the book. And the other leading retailer in Northern Ireland at the time was McKillen's, Ballymena. And I drove up very early one morning, left home about 6, got up to Coleraine, was waiting at the door at 9 o'clock and walked in and went, good morning, I'm Declan McChesney. I'm a retailer from Newry, but I also have a company of Italian shoes I'd love to have a look at. And, you know, you don't get straight to see the chief. You have to talk to a couple of Indians.
Yes.
And they're going, oh, well, you know, this is Bishop's, and Bishops don't see anybody without an appointment. And I went, that's absolutely no problem. I just happened to be here early because I was working all last evening in McKillen's because they buy this stuff and they buy it really, really, really well. So I just thought I would pop in and say,
yeah. So you got your appointment.
And they went, hold on a minute, I'll speak to Mr. Hamilton.
Yes.
And off they go. Next thing, Mr. Hamilton, take a quick look. So I threw them out on the floor.
Yeah.
And these are going very well in McKillen's. They just can't get enough of them.
Wow.
He bought them. I jumped in the car, straight down the road and into McKillen's.
Same story.
Same story.
But I mean, there's a confidence required to do that. Have you an indestructible sort of character? Are you able to take the no's and the permanent no's? Go away, we don't want you.
Listen, you know, I didn't get married till I was 40. So I met my gorgeous wife when I was 32. And up to then, no was the word that I was most used to everywhere I went. You became immune to it. But it's, you know, everything in your head is of a level. And if this is lower than that, then this is what kind. And I thought, I like this better than your no.
Yes.
And therefore, your no's not really that relevant. Yes, it's a bit of a knockback.
Yeah.
But there's also there was the Bally shops in Belfast.
Yes, I remember.
To get into them was difficult. And I remember, again, funny enough, in the old days there was no phones. I was in a phone box in Kildare and in Newbridge in Kildare, phoning Heather Ward in the Bally shop and said, look, I need you to see my product, blah, 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 blah. And she just went, yes, I've heard about this. I'll see you next Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. I went, right, great. Hung up the phone, came out of the phone box and I went, yeah.
Yeah, of
and
course.
a car went by me and went beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, good.
And I always remember, you talk about the eureka moment, and that was it.
That was it. Listen to me, you success in business, hard work in business, you know, the worry of it all, you come through it, you've built it, and you're successful, as I say. There then, like myself, there then came a health moment for you, and you were very proactive when you were diagnosed with the prostate cancer in reaching out to others and letting them know the dangers and trying to encourage people to be careful, men of a certain age. You're through that now.
Well, you know, the thing about it is, and I say to anybody who's ever, and you know, we're very lucky. We're sitting here, we're still casting a shadow. There are those who very sadly, in all our lives, didn't make it. But when you've had cancer, the terrible thing about it all, the one thing that no one ever talks about, the one thing that no one really addresses, and I think is that terrible thing that every time you get an ache, a pain, a wince,
Maybe it
anything,
is.
maybe it is, and you have to deal with that, you know, and that probably is the lasting legacy of having had cancer. I you know, it's in everybody's head. And I know I used to think, oh my God, what am I going to think if I ever have to walk through the door of a cancer centre? And I remember the day I walked through that door, and I thought, okay, that's that done. Let's deal with it. And I went on quite an arduous journey, because I didn't just go to Belfast, I also went to London and had that awful moment of getting the phone call to say, no, it's either not gone or it's back, and starting the journey again, and all of that stuff. But what do you do? What can you do? You know? You just have to keep going. You just have to put on your face and go back out. And
Which you did remarkably
but
successfully.
then again, I also think, as I'm talking over you and keeping you quiet, that if a loudmouth like me can get cancer, then all those people who, find life, in many ways difficult and difficult enough to talk to people, if they see that a loudmouth like me has cancer, it might help them. And I have to say, the door of my shop was open, and the number of people who come in to see me, including one beautiful little old man who just came up and stood at the side of my counter. And I always measure people. I read a book once about you can be so quiet that you can become invisible. And I read a book once about these people who actually are so quiet that they become invisible, and the world that they live in. And that man stood there, and you could have walked around him, but I saw him, and a busy day in the shop, and I went up to him, and he just put his hand on my arm like that, and he said, I'm very frightened. And I said, what's wrong? He says, I think I have cancer. And I took him down the back. I've even let you down the back of the shop, I think, once or twice.
Sat in the garden?
Sat in the garden. There's a garden at the back of my shop. But I took him out, and we sat and we chatted, and all I did was I gave him a direction. I've never seen that man since, and I often think about him. And I just hope that whatever the disease did to him, that the worry didn't do him. And that is, cancer is two things, is the disease and the worry. You have to fight the worry and let the doctors fight the disease.
That's exactly it. You're very, very wise indeed. And
you know that you said I was very wise. If I give you our home number, would you ring my wife
and tell her that? I think she maybe knows. You've dropped your microphone. Put it back in there. No, it's an ongoing battle. Men of a certain age, to be careful. And that's beyond
23 upwards. No.
No.
I always remember. Sorry, Damien.
Is it in? Let me try that for you.
You put it in for me.
Let me adjust that. There, you got it. You got it.
Just like that, Rowan. You've got such lovely hands.
I sure know.
I moved.
But we and don't keep that thing loose there. You see, and that's. But the journey continues for all of us, and we just encourage men to be aware, because the doctors will tell you. The doctors tell you men don't care.
No, they don't. The men are afraid.
Afraid.
You think, well, if I haven't got the answer, there's no need to ask the question.
Yeah.
And but they stood up. I was driving home from work one night, and they said, at 50 years old, every man should go for the blood test every year.
Yeah.
And a very good friend of mine who's a doctor, and I've said this before, he said to me, don't say that to anybody. Please don't say that to me. Why? Because we'll be overwhelmed.
Wow, that's not a reason not to say it.
No.
Goodness gracious.
But, the doctor's friend of mine, he says, the truth is the truth. The system won't be able to cope, but that's the system's fault, not our fault. So go out, get your blood test. And it was all to do with that. They just saw that this protein level in my blood was rising, and made me go and see about it. And I'll be honest with you, the alternative is a lot worse.
It is a lot worse, absolutely. So you're back to Cahill Brothers on Hill Street. Is it the oldest shop on Hill Street?
It's the oldest privately owned business in Newry. It's the second oldest shoe shop in Northern Ireland, the third oldest shoe shop in Ireland.
Describe, I have a memory of the way it used to be, but you paint a picture of the Cahill Brothers you grew into, the way it was, the layout. So you did, as well as shoes, you did
I remember
clothes and things.
We had curtain materials downstairs, ladies' underwear at the back, a gents' department. Upstairs we had a ladies' department and a children's department, and we had the shoe shop through next door. When I was born, when I began to see the place, there was, I mean,
You would have run around on the wooden floorboards.
oh, on the wooden floorboards. I remember the old light bulbs rather than. I don't remember when there used to be the money was on little cylinders that were shot around.
Yeah.
But what I do remember was just in the 40s, up until the 40s, staff lived in the shop. If you came to work in Cahill Brothers, you lived in it. And there was a kitchen with a big range in it, and all the bedrooms all around the shop. And it was massive. And there was apple trees out in the back garden and everything, you know. So the people who worked in Cahill Brothers lived it, you know, and they opened in 1894. My old granduncles, Owen and Hugh Cahill, they had a shop in Blaney, and then business was so good, they then bought a shop on Hill Street. And the funny thing about it all was it was a butcher shop, and that was the original Cahill Brothers. And anybody who goes down to Fitzpatrick's wonderful hostelry, as Rowan would say, as I would say, Fitzpatrick's brilliant restaurant down in Rockmarshall, you will remember originally it was called Angela's, and when you walked in the door, it was called Angela's because the man who lived there had a daughter called Angela, and her picture was standing in the doorway of his butcher shop in Newry, which was our shop.
Yeah, yeah.
So we started there, and then business was good, and they bought numbers 66 and 68 Hill Street, and the whole Cahill Brothers then went on like that, and then we traded through. I remember I had to go and see Mark H. Durkin,
Yes,
the planning minister, and recently, and I had to do a presentation to him about his decision we regard as very flawed in Newry, and I spoke to him, and I googled events that had happened from the doors of Cahill Brothers open, all the events in history, major events, 2 world wars, the early presidents of the United States, all of that. I googled him, and I was able to tell him about when his grandfather was a policeman, when he was adopted into the police, what happened that year. And each time I put on the little, and Cahill Brothers was still trading. And Cahill Brothers was still trading.
Yeah.
And we traded through 1916. We traded through as the First World War. We traded through when the Retriever sank.
Yes,
we traded through the Second World War. We traded through the Troubles in Northern Ireland. And then we get a planning minister who's about to make a decision to kill the centre of Newry. I said, the responsibility is on you. The
Where
weight
is
of
that
history.
at the moment? Where is it?
Where is what?
The decision. Is
The
it
decision will be announced on the 4th of July.
4th of July?
4th or 6th of July.
Okay, we look at that then.
But in terms of us being there on Hill Street, in 1990, a little chap, and it was an amazing story. We were in the middle of the Troubles, and there has been numerous fires around Newry.
Yes, yeah.
Numerous buildings had been burnt down, and none of them were as a result of the Troubles. And it was very quickly realised that there was one person doing it. And then one night, it's always humour, sorry, the undertones were on in Dundalk. And I had decided that on the night of the 4th of May, the night of the 8th of February in 1989, I was too old to be at the undertones as a punk. So I put on a dress suit. Formal dicky bow and tie, and I went off to the undertones in the Imperial in Dundalk, and they were absolutely brilliant. And we came home and just got into the house, phone went, and it was my mother crying, the shop's on fire, there's flames coming out everywhere. So I took off the jacket, grabbed the nearest coat, and raced up to Newry, and the fire brigade were there, and they were hosing the place down. And at about maybe 4 o'clock in the morning, they said to me, right, we need you to come into the building and just show us around. And I went in, and a press photographer took a shot of me coming out of the building with a fireman, and I'm in the most beautiful pigskin long coat with a white shirt and a dicky bow. coming out through the smoke, you know.
Yeah.
And
But as you say, there's humour there. But
let me
you came through.
Let me
go,
finish.
yeah,
Let me finish
okay.
the story. They discovered where the fire had been set.
Yes.
The terrible thing was, only for that day, I had got a huge delivery of shoes. That little boy would have not survived the fire because he had forgotten to make a way out for himself. And he, luckily enough, built up the cartons into a staircase.
He's the fellow who did it.
Yeah, got out through a roof. Now, they knew who he was by this stage, and they knew where he lived. And one day, the police were in a Land Rover on the Dublin Road, and they saw this kid driving a stolen car down the Dublin Road, and they followed him, and he came down the Dublin Road, over the bridge, and turned into St. Christopher's Park, drove in to St. Christopher's Park. They went in after him. He jumped out of the car, and this was January, and dived into the Clanrye.
He drowned.
He was never found. And what amazes me was that child lived by fire and died by water. And I always think that there's something very strange about that. But then we pulled ourselves together, and it was the most difficult thing. I had a friend in retail in Belfast who came and sat up all night with me one night and said, "No, Declan, you've got to reopen. Throw on a fire sale, make the thing go, keep it alive." And he sat up all night, and it took him all night to make me do it, because I had just spent tens of thousands doing the place up. And we got her up and going, and the fire was in February, and in May, it was the first day off I had. It was the May bank holiday, and I went down to Adair in Limerick to take a day off, and I went horse riding, and the horse threw me, and I broke my back, and I wasn't supposed to walk again. And I just thought, this is not a good year. But anyway, we got the place back up again, and then my mother decided to retire, and I said, no, I don't want the whole department store thing. I'll just take over the shoes and do it my own way.
That's how it worked.
That's how it's there.
Declan, you've just told us the most remarkable couple of stories there. You know,
but by the time he edited, there'll only be one.
No, it is as it is. It's going out. That's the way it is. But you've introduced me to new knowledge of the Troubles, and of course,
but it's always to me to bring you knowledge, Rowan. You know, there are still pages in the book that need the pen and ink.
I love Declan's humility. He's just wonderful in that. But
I'm so humile, it's unbelievable.
Listen, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a grand chat.
Always a pleasure.
God bless you.
Thank you for asking me, Ron.
Not at all. You're welcome.